Gonzaga has now eliminated UCLA the last 3 times they have met in this tournament. Can we give Drew Timme some credit? 36 points, 13 rebounds, 79-76. Gonzaga is moving on. Let's not bring in Jay Bilas. I mean, that game was a roller coaster of emotions, and I need to take a deep breath. But they were down 46-33 at the half. And then Gonzaga came all the way back to almost then blow it. They get the winner. What do you make of the way that this game actually ended?
Well, Gonzaga's got some gamers, and they had an 8-point lead with about 1:14 to go, and you have to give UCLA a lot of credit. Jaime Jaquez had 2 and 1s going to the basket out of the middle of the floor, and Gonzaga made some mistakes in fouling when they shouldn't have. They missed a couple of free throws, but when they were down 1 and they have to win the game, after a timeout, Mark Few ran a little. Hunter Salas came down the floor, and Julian Strawther just looped behind him and took a 30-footer and drained it. He made a similar shot earlier this season against St. Mary's late in the game to tie it up and send it to overtime. They've just got a lot of guts, and Gonzaga did not defend well in the first half. I think you mentioned they gave up 45 or 46 points in the first half to UCLA, and they couldn't guard pick and rolls. They couldn't guard the middle of the floor. But really the key all game was Drew Timme. He had 36 points. He was unguardable for UCLA. But Malachi Smith, the transfer from Tennessee Chattanooga, who was Southern Conference Player of the Year when he was playing for the Mocs, came in and just did a great job on Tiger Campbell. And their defense tightened up. And for Gonzaga to win that game, especially when they were down 13, says a lot about their competitive character.
Malachi Smith also threw in 14 points and 6 rebounds. So the Zags now have 48 hours before they face one of the best teams that we've seen in this tournament so far, in UConn, who destroyed Arkansas earlier today. Let's start with this in 2 parts. What do you think about those 2 teams meeting on Saturday?
Well, Gonzaga is maybe the best offensive team in the country. They average well over 85 points a game. They shoot over 52% from the field, and they lead the nation in 2-point field goal percentage in large measure because they get so many layups off their cuts in transition, and then with Drew Timme shooting such a high percentage in the lane. But UConn is so big. They've got Adama Sanogo, Donovan Clingan, who's 7'2", comes in off the bench. They did a great job, I thought, against Arkansas. They changed their defense a little bit. They weren't extending out against Arkansas because Arkansas doesn't shoot the ball well from the perimeter. So they just covered up the lane. And I think you'll see them do something similar against Gonzaga. Although Gonzaga shoots it much better, they'll have to extend, but I don't think they'll be able to deny as much. And Danny Hurley's going to have to make a decision. Are they going to double team Drew Timme? Because no matter how big his defender is, he's so good with fakes, so good with his footwork. He's able to pivot around bigger defenders and even more athletic defenders. He's going to be a handful for anybody who has to guard him. And one-on-one in the post is one of the most difficult things to guard in basketball.
And the way Tennessee likes to win games, like they're going to muck it up, slow it down as much as possible. But in that second half, how did Florida Atlantic not allow Tennessee to do that to them?
Well, Florida Atlantic did a really good job rebounding throughout the game. It's a team that shoots a lot of threes. About half their shots were threes, but they did a good job of keeping the floor spread where it gave them an opportunity to cut. And it was a little bit harder, I think, for Tennessee to bully them and to be as physical as perhaps they wanted to be. It's not a traditional lineup that you'd play against. They do have a big guy, Vlad Golden, who transferred in from Texas Tech. He's 7 feet tall. But I think I was most impressed with the way Florida Atlantic hung with Tennessee on the glass. They actually out-rebounded Tennessee. And, you mentioned before that Florida Atlantic only shot 42%. But 42% is pretty good against Tennessee. They're really good defensively. And that's actually over what they allow on the season. They've been the best field goal percentage and 3-point percentage defensive team in the country. The problem for Tennessee wasn't their defense, it was their offense. And their offense didn't help their defense very much. But Tennessee only shot 33%. They made 6 threes out of 23, I think it was. So they shot down in the 20s percentage-wise. And Olivier Kamwa, who had 27 points against Duke and was just magnificent, had only 6 against Florida Atlantic. And Santiago Vescovi couldn't find openings. They shot the ball well to start, but that was the end of it for Tennessee. And to only put up 55 points, that's just not enough. And you got to give Florida Atlantic a lot of credit. Again, their board work was excellent, and they shoot so many threes. There were a lot of long rebounds, but they were quicker to the ball, and man, were they tough. And John L. Davis, I mean, they might have to take his Sixth Man of the Year award. He's been starting lately, so he's not coming off the bench anymore. But you know, he had 15 points in that game, 6 rebounds, and handled the ball. He did a really good job. But that's a tough basketball team that Dusty May has, and to beat one of the toughest teams in the country, Tennessee, I think says a lot about that level of toughness they have.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.